Hi, welcome back to another session on learning guitar the easy way. And in the previous session we looked at chords and how different chords can be played. And in this session we are going to talk about open chords and how we need to be holding each chord on the fingerboard or the fretboard. Usually most of us, those who are right-handed, the guitar will be in this way, but for those who are left-handed, the guitar will be stringed differently. These strings on the top will actually be starting from the down in the reverse order. Okay, but for most of us who are right-handed, we hold chords with our left hand, and it is very important to number our fingers, because when I talk about chords, we will be also talking about the which number finger we should be using to hold the chords on the respective notes. So of course this is the thumb. We don't use the thumb for playing anything, we just use it to position ourselves or hold the neck of the guitar very well. And we have the index finger, which we will name as the first finger. Then we have the middle finger, which we will name as the second finger, and then we will have the third finger, the ring finger, which we will name as number 3. And then of course the last finger, the little finger or the pinky, will be the fourth finger. And chords, basically there are two group of chords. The first is the major chords, where we say G major, A major, B major, and so on. And then we have the minor chords, E minor, F minor, A minor, G minor, and so on. Okay, every note has a major and a minor. So the major you have to listen to them to understand the difference. The major sounds are more celebratory, whereas the minor sounds are more melancholic or more sad. Okay, and we use major chords and minor chords at different times in music, for variations, for ups and downs. So first let us look at the major chords. We will start with the C chord. So the way to hold the C chord, C open, is like this. See, listen to the sound of C. So the first note we will be actually holding with the first finger. We hold this note on the second string, on the first fret of the second string, and then we will hold the second finger on the second fret of the fourth string, and then we will hold the third finger or the middle finger on the third fret of the fifth string. And this is how C open sounds like. Of course, one thing you have to note, when we play the strums and all, usually sometimes we may not play the last strings in some cases, because sometimes it doesn't add any extra sound to the guitar. But just even if you play, it's no problem. Okay? But just you have to note that it is good to always emphasize your playing more on the notes that your fingers are holding. Okay. The next is the D chord. How do you hold the D chord? The D chord is held like this, in a kind of triangular position. And I told you this is one chord that we can actually use down the fretboard to hold other scales as well, or other chords as well. And for the D, when we start, we take the first finger and we put it on the second fret of the fourth string, okay, or what we call it as the D string. And then we take the index finger and we put it on the second fret of the first string or the E string. So you hold it like this, okay, you hold it like this, okay, and then you take the ring finger and you put it on the third fret of the second string. you put it on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and so you get the D chord like this. And when we strum, usually, as I mentioned before, we may not play these first 2 strings because they produce a kind of jarring noise. It is good to play D like this. Only playing those 4 strings, so they produce a sweet sound of the D chord. If you play the upper 2 strings, it will sound like this. So it's kind of jarring. It's always better to play like this. Some people try to hold like this. So interchanging, instead of holding the 1st and 2nd and the 3rd, they'll try to hold the 2nd and the 3rd and the 4th. That's also not a problem, but the advantage of holding in this position is you can use this pinky finger to hold a sustaining note. See, D sustain like this. That sustaining note you can actually play when you hold actually the G note. When you play the G note with your pinky finger, that is on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. Okay, thus it's actually more of an advantage. The next chord is the E chord. E is held like this, E open. I told you before, E can also be held, we learned D before. D can be D, D sharp, E. E can be held like this. But listen to E open. E open is more fuller like this. It sounds more fuller and nice. How do we hold E open? This time, the 1st finger, we put it on the 3rd string, on the 1st fret of the 3rd string. See here? And then we put the 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. And then we put the 3rd finger, the middle finger, on the 2nd fret again of the 4th string. Okay. So now you have, see? So there you have it. We talked about the next chord F earlier. So you see this, basically the F chord is similar to the E chord. If you just take the E chord down, see the E chord, you just take it down, and if you hold this 1st finger on these 2 chords, on the 1st fret, on the 2nd and 1st string, you have your F chord. See the difference? So the relationship between E and F. So why am I telling you there? When we talked about the E string, I showed you that we can hold the E like this with the 1st, 2nd and 3rd finger. But it is also more advantageous to hold E like this with your 2nd, 3rd and 4th finger. Why? Because then you can shift down and continue to hold F in this way. You can hold F sharp in this way. Okay? So this is now the F shape, the F chord. Again, I will tell you how we hold the F chord. We actually put our 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 1st and 2nd string. Okay? So you basically hold it like this. It's a little hard, it's not easy. F is one of the hardest chords, and I find it in the beginning sometimes your fingers might pain. Alright, but you have to practice that, and then you put your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and then you put your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, and you put your pinky on the 3rd fret of the 4th string. So here now you have the F. Another way to hold the F is, if you find your hands straining a lot, I find that it's easier to take this 1st finger and just hold all the frets like this. Okay. So the advantage is it gives you a more firm grip. Okay, and then it holds the chords easily. See these last 2 notes? You have to hold it tight. okay, and it doesn't disturb the strings here because already the sound comes from these fingers, not from anything that is held here. Okay, so see the sound. Okay, now we will go to the G chord. Okay, the G chord is also held like this, the same F sharp, but the open chord is held like this. See. Okay. Again, these can be interchangeably used. You can use the first three fingers or the second three fingers. Okay. So how we hold it is basically we put our first finger on the second fret of the fifth string. Okay, and then we put our second finger on the third fret of the last string, sixth string, and then we use our third finger to put our third finger on the third fret of the first string, and this you get, and thus you get the G major open chord. And this can be interchangeably used with the next three fingers. Why I say this? Because the advantage is, if you want to hold a sustained note, see, you can actually, there is a sustained note here on the first fret. So on the, let's say on the second, on the first fret on the second string, so you can play like this. See. So you can use them interchangeably. It's a good practice to learn, two different ways of finger placements. Okay, so your fingers become more flexible, okay, or dexterous. And the next chord is the A chord. This is easy. You just hold on one fret. You hold three notes together. This is very easy. You just put the second finger on the second fret of the fourth string. You put the third finger on the second fret again of the third string, and then you put the last finger on the second fret again of the second string, and then you get the A sound. Some people would like to interchange, with the first three fingers, but then again, why I hold it like this is because when you shift downwards, if you want to hold A sharp, you can use your first finger to hold an A sharp like this, or a B. So after A comes B. We don't have to talk much. If you just hold A together, slide it down 2 frets like this, and then the first finger, if you put it on the second fret of the first string, you get a B. See? To hold the B chord, we will actually put our first finger on the first string on the second fret, and then we will put the second finger on the fourth fret of the fourth string, and then we will put the third finger on the fourth fret again of the third string, and then we will put the last finger on the fourth fret again of the second string, and there you have the B chord. So how do we play them? See, we play them C, D, E, F or F like this, and then G, A, B, and then C again. One of the best ways to practice them practically is to take one song which has maybe 1 or 2 or 3 chords. There are a lot of songs which use family chords, and just learn these 3 chords which are in a family. We will talk about them later, but take songs which have 3 chords each and keep playing those songs until you learn those 3 chords. After you learn them, then you take another song which has another 3 chords and master those songs. You will find that you will be able to master these chords so well. Master them till you can play these chords without even looking. Now, in the beginning, we will need to keep looking, and then we'll need to keep looking at our fingers. We may need to help our fingers and all. But after some time, you need to be able to play like this. And then you can play them very fast.